hopefully everything's working.
Should be.
And we're all good.
You might have muted through the intro, but
that's fine. That's all right. If you can hear us, please let us know. Put something in the comments. But it's good to be back.
it is.
Another Sunday.
Let us know how the audio levels are as well.
Yeah, please.
I just kind of ad hoc do it because I lost my remote control function of it. So we'll see how it is. It'll be fine.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out as we go along. So yeah, it's good to be back. And it's good that you're back.
It's been some time, hasn't it?
Yeah, because last week you weren't here, were you? You were ill.
I was fighting the good fight.
Oh, that's a bit dark.
Yeah, it's a bit dark.
I'll go lighten it up.
Yes, I. Well, at first, actually, I don't know. Should I just say it now? It's probably part of my rating of life. A little bit. Yeah, that'll do. This, do you know what I mean? Because it's basically been about 2 and a bit weeks almost since I've been.
Yeah.
So it started off well.
Yeah.
It would have been like 8.5, 9 out of 10. Because we went on holiday, had our anniversary.
Oh, yeah.
Great time, and it was like a real holiday. Felt like a holiday.
Nice.
We went to this place called Malton, not Malta, which a lot of people thought we were going to Malta.
Yeah.
But no, we were not, in fact, going to Malta. But it was lovely. We stayed in a really nice Airbnb. We even went to a vineyard and had a little wine tasting.
Okay.
Nice. The wine was nice. Got some food. It was beautiful. And then we came back. We hung out with you and Anna.
Oh yeah.
We went off to Lake District. Walking around a bit. Had a nice meal. Went to the best. Is it? I don't know if it's the best, but they call themselves like the top.
I think they said world famous or world renowned. It was world something.
Yeah. I don't know if that is accurately like. I don't know if anyone not from England would journey to the UK for the purpose of going to. Like to me, that's what that world. Anyway, don't get into those semantics. Went there. That was great. We come home Monday. Mercy starts feeling a bit, but we didn't know if it's just because. Like obviously it was her birthday week, so she'd done a bunch of stuff, she'd done a bunch of traveling. And then we come to find out that, because basically she had a work event that week before we went on a holiday.
Yeah.
And from that work event, 40 people got the Rona.
Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
40 people. Now imagine 40 people. That's a lot. That's a big breakdown.
That is mental, yeah.
But that's 40 different households, most likely. Unless someone's dating each other.
Yeah.
That's 40 different households. So even though Mercy got it, I got it as well. So the first like 3 days, Mercy had it. I didn't have any symptoms. So we were hoping I'd be fine.
Yeah.
And then that third night, it was like a Tuesday evening.
Yeah.
I literally came on me. I literally felt it. I was like, I'm done for. So basically the last, I don't know how long it's been now, like week and a half, we have just been recovering from Rona. And it's no joke, man. We were both vaccinated. Mercy got the booster, so she's up 4, I'm on 3. And it still took us out completely. And I still have some lingering fatigue and lung tightness. So like today I had to fully go out home and just like rest because after leading worship, like you get a bit of an adrenaline spike.
Yeah.
So like there's always a bit of a natural come down after a Sunday morning meeting because obviously your adrenaline levels out. But I knew that, like, the way I was feeling, part of it was that. So I was, like, anticipating. Like, that's why, because I texted Eamon, I said, the come down is happening. He was like, what's that? What's the come down? I was like, well, let's just say I'll let you know how I'm feeling because it could not be great. So I've rested still on the up and up. But yeah, we'll see. How are you doing? Apparently there's some echo.
Sound, yeah, apparently,
Sort that out.
according to me mother, it's just Warner, just you that's echoing badly. So I don't know what that means. Warner's on the case. I'll just talk to myself for a bit. My week out of 10. Oh, how to give my week out of 10? It's been like a up and down, to be honest. Up and down. Stuff going on at work. People rejecting offers. I'm a recruiter, if you don't know. So basically, like, my job is finding people jobs, helping organisations. A bunch of people rejecting offers, which is like the worst. It's really annoying. So if they don't accept, we don't get paid, essentially. So that works down the drain. It's not down the drain. We can start again or whatever else. But there's other things we can do. But ultimately, it just means that it just prolongs the process, which is annoying. But that's fine. With Man United doing all right, I had to say it. Because last week I was preaching. If you listened, you'll know. And I said, Man United, on paper, are... Both of you are echoing and the volume must be really loud for us to hear. Okay. We're working on it, guys. So yeah, Man United on paper have been terrible. I don't know if you've... Last season anyway, we've been rubbish. We've had a great team. No, on paper we've been good, sorry, but in real life we've been rubbish. We've had a really good team. At the start of last season, I was like, we're going to do something good here. And we just didn't. We were just rubbish. I was mentioning my preach yesterday, and I was trying to make it like a nice little point about the Lord and whatever else. And the first two preseason friendlies, that we had this week, we won both of them. And we played nice football. That's the important thing. Warner was watching along, and he was texting me as we were going along, like, oh, you're doing well, oh, you're looking good, oh, you're looking healthy, all that kind of stuff. So I'm telling you, I just had to say it, because Mahongo called me out this morning. Called me out, saying what was it, giving an advert for City or something like that. Listen, guys, if you're still deciding who to support, Man City or Man United, I'm telling you something right now. City are on the downhill, Man United are coming back up, guys. So support Man United, because we're coming back, baby, and I'm ready for it. Just had to mention that. Yeah, it's also too hot, man. It's also too hot. I had to say it. Warner's agreeing with me at the back while he's sorting all the stuff out, man. I'm telling you, it's just too warm. And like, I almost think that this kind of heat is a result of the fall. Do you know what I mean? Talks about, the Lord walking in the cool of the day. What's the phrase that he uses? Something like that. Makes it the Garden of Eden was nice. It had a breeze to it. It was lovely. And this is just too hot. I know people are going to say, well, it's hotter in other places and whatever else. I'm not used to this. I'm not built for this weather, right? I'm born in Manchester, really rainy and cold. My mum's Dutch, my dad's Irish. Like, my genes just don't mix together with the heat. So I'm sweating, I'm dying. Staying hydrated though. Got me water. So the moral of the story is, guys, get praying. Whoever's praying for the heat, can you stop, please? Like, whoever's praying. I know Warner says it when he had his wedding. I remember Warner's wedding, right? And he was saying that, he wanted sun. Everyone wants sun on their wedding day or anything like this. People are praying for sun. And it was just well hot. It was a nice day, but I was sweating in my three-piece suit. It was like 29, 30 degrees. And I'm in shorts right now, and Crocs as well. I've got Crocs on. And I'm still absolutely and utterly sweating. I heard an oh from Warner, so hopefully it's cooking. Something's happening. So just keep us updated on what's going on, because that'll be nice. But if you are here, though, I've not said this so yet. If you are here, like the stream, share the stream, comment on the stream. Let us know if there's any topics that you want to do. Obviously, we've been riding with this theme of like Jesus is this, or Jesus is that, or Jesus the this, Jesus the that. So we looked at Psalm 23 for the past couple of weeks with Warner and Ezekiel. That was really, really good. So I encourage you to go listen back to that, because there's some really good stuff, especially last week. Ezekiel did a fantastic job, so thanks, Ezekiel, if you're listening. But yeah, if there is anything that you kind of want us to touch on, anything that you kind of want us to look at, I don't know, maybe it's like a topic, maybe it's a character, maybe it's a story you just don't get, or you don't really know why it's in the Bible or why it's there. Yeah, let us know, because we would love to. We'd love to kind of do that. And I forgot about something. Mom's just reminding me. So cheers, Mom. So basically, if you don't know, I'm getting married. I'm expecting a whoop from one in the building, but that's fine. There we go. Yeah, it's fine, mate. It's fine. You're busy. I'm getting married. If you were here, that's why I was getting a whoop. Anyway, I'm getting married in. I'm getting married in November the 19th. No, don't forget. And essentially, kind of looking for an house, looking for kind of to rent an house where we get married. Anna currently lives next to the Etihad, also known as the Big Shed, and it's just a bit of a trek to kind of get to church, get to meetings, kind of get a bit, kind of do stuff and get in community and whatever else, blah blah blah. Contract kind of runs out in September, I think it is. So she's been kind of looking for a house around Oldham, around Chatterton, that kind of area, that she's going to move into and then live for the next couple of months. And then obviously when we get married, then I'll move in as well. And she viewed a couple of houses, put a couple of applications in, not been successful, not really worked that well. There was one flat which is really, really nice, and like we were kind of like, yeah, this one's amazing, and it fell through. They went for somebody else, which is fine. The renter market is mental at the moment, man. Guys, I'm telling you, if you're looking for a house, you just got to get on it. You got to be quick. You just got to be on it. Do you know what I mean? Any messing around, any kind of and ahhing, you're gonna lose. Do you know what I mean? So that sound is great. Hopefully, it'll be the same for Warner's mic. Good job. Good job, Warner. Everyone say good job, Warner. But yeah, anyway, so Anna went to view this property, and it's in Chatterton. It's just like 10 minutes down the road from where I currently live.
Strong.
It's also, we also wanted somewhere close to public transport, and preferably the train, because the train's just faster for both of us to get into work. And it's literally a 5-minute walk from the train station, which is a win, because at the moment it's like a 15-minute walk, which is fine. But if I can do 5 minutes, I'm going to do 5 minutes. You know what I mean? 5-minute walk from the train station, which is a win. And she went to go see it, and she was like, I love it. I'm sold, and all this kind of stuff.
Oh, wow. That's how strong her is.
Yeah. It was like it was a cheese on bread moment. Do you know what I mean? Where you just like, cheese on bread, this is it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I remember coming out, and obviously the rental market's mental. Apparently loads of other people were viewing it at the same time, anything like this. And I was like, Anna, if you want it, you better get praying. And she did. We all prayed. It was all lovely. And anyway, she ended up getting it.
It was all lovely.
It was all lovely.
Your prayers, eh?
But she ended up getting it.
Hey.
And obviously it's the house that she wants. It was like a number one choice out of all the ones she's seen. So that's good though, isn't it? The moral of the story is...
Yeah, 100%.
The moral of the story is... Pray.
What we heard this morning.
Just ask God what you want. He will give you the desires of your heart. That's a practical example of what we heard this morning.
That is quite literally what we heard as well.
And so, yeah, I mean, I encourage you guys to go listen back to this morning as well. It was very, very good. It was
immense. This is partly influenced by that. Partly.
Oh, okay.
It's partly not. Partly is. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those things where like the Holy Spirit's saying something similar. And this is kind of like another angle of it.
Right.
Basically, let me summarize what Mum said, because it was fire. It was all about the importance of abiding, of like being with Jesus, and that certain things are possible that in human reasoning would be impossible, because we remain in Jesus, because we have Jesus in our lives.
Yeah.
And so she used the example of creation when God says, cool, here are the birds in the air, fish in the sea. And he blesses both of those. And then he creates man and woman, and says, your job is to govern these two spaces. And it's like, her point was like, how are you going to do that? Yeah. What are you going to say to that pigeon? Hey, that's enough now. Hey, stop it. Hey, shark, dolphin, you lot need to play nice. No fighting, none of that. It's an impossible task, really. Like, we can't govern ourselves. Let's be real.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen that. We
barely govern humanity. Yeah. How are we gonna manage to govern the rest of creation? But her point was that in God, the ability to do what God has said is there. Yeah. And so her big overarching point was that we all have a mission, which is given to us super early on. So even if you're someone at home right now and you're thinking, oh, I've got nothing to do in life, I don't know what I'm doing, I just work 9 to 5, or I don't have a job, or I hate my job, or whatever your situation is, and you think, oh, I've got nothing, every person has a baseline mandate of, hey, this is what God has said that you have to do. Like, he has a purpose for you here. And that's a great thing, first of all. And then she kind of goes into a bit more detail of how we can actually be involved in that. So the first step was accepting Jesus. That's the... Do you know what I mean? You got to accept the invitation.
Good first step.
You can't be in Jesus if you're not in Jesus. You can't stay in Jesus, is what she said.
Yeah.
If you're not in Jesus in the first place. You have to get in. You have to get in the club.
You have to get in. Makes sense.
And then once you're in, you got to maintain the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to be present.
Fully present.
You have to be fully present. And then it was, I believe it was fruitfulness. In it. Part of it was waiting, so waiting on God, just like not as in God, you're taking your time, as in like her example was a waiter or waitress.
Yeah.
And so the job is, you know, that we should be attentive enough to God that we wait on His instruction. Really, that's kind of what you're thinking of. So like, hey God, what do you want to do? What would you like today? Do you know what I mean? What's on your menu? What is it that you'd like today that I can help you do?
Yeah.
Anything else you need? Do you know what I mean? That's kind of the whole thing. And then fruitfulness, the idea that you can be fruitful in every season as a result of you abiding in Jesus.
Yeah.
Having that perspective of, I know what my mission is. I know what, even if I don't know, like, what am I going to do next year?
Yeah.
I know that I've been called by God to govern and rule the earth on His behalf and to go out and make disciples. So, like, I need to focus on doing those two things.
Yeah.
And then the Holy Spirit will help me find the specific road to do that. And I was so encouraged by it. There were so many things that were just like, this is so spot on with what God is saying to our church, like the last few months, and to what I know He's saying generally in the global church.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the stuff that we're getting, although it's very pertinent to our congregation, I also know that a lot of other congregations are having similar words, whether in this specific time span or if it's been like kind of over the last year.
Yeah.
Basically, God's drawing back His church to saying, hey, you need me, guys. Yeah. You guys have got great plans. Some of you got really good lights. Some of you don't have great lights, but none of that matters whether you've got nice lights or not.
Yeah.
You need me. That's effectively what's happening. And so she kind of then talked about the fig tree, and then she talks about how Jesus was always ready regardless.
Yeah.
So that kind of segues into what we're going to look at a little bit, because Jesus is always the perfect example of stuff that... So even in this scenario, it can seem like... it can seem a bit daunting, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, after remaining Jesus all the time, like every day, your expectation of me, God's expectation of me is that I am with Him every day.
Yeah.
And I'm always cognizant of what He wants to do. I'm always... one of the things that she mentioned was that you're able to look at a situation and see opportunity because you know that you're... Oh, this is what she said. It was so good, so good. So she said, our mission is... The mission of humanity is to govern impossibilities. So when you see an impossibility, what that means is you have an opportunity to govern that situation and bring the kingdom of...
Yeah, that's good.
Bring the authority of God to that situation. Oh, that was honestly, when she said that, I was like, that is fire. So what it means then is when you go through an impossible situation, instead of you thinking, this is impossible, you're thinking, how can I bring order?
Yeah.
How can I bring God's rightness to this situation? So she used the example of the bread and the fish. And you got one disciple
And basically, part of what today is I'm going to summarize and re-say what she said because I thought it was that good. And then we'll just develop. I'll have something to go through. But I was just so excited when she said it. I was like, this has to be brought again. You know what I mean? So you've got one guy, one disciple, and this is you'll find this you get this in the Old Testament where a question is asked and two different groups of people have different answers, different perspectives.
Yeah.
You see it today where a problem might arise or a situation arises or a need, whatever, and people have completely different spectrums. And this is another example where a situation is there's 5,000 men, only men. Yeah. That's that 5,000, which means that there's probably more people than the 5,000 there, but they only counted the men just to be a bit simpler. But you're probably thinking it's probably closer to like 10, 15 if you're thinking families and that. And they have to feed all these, well, they don't have to feed all these people, but Jesus we need to feed these people because they came to listen to us. And the smart people there are saying, this isn't a fiscally responsible position to have. Yeah. Because at minimum, we're going to need 9 months of salary. Now, Mum said, she told us to think about our own salary and not to disclose it. I'll disclose mine. You're probably looking at 13, 14 grand. Yeah. That I would have to pay out to feed all these people for one meal. Yeah. So it makes sense that this disciple said, Jesus, just send them away. There's some villages nearby. Send them. Now, I don't know what logistically how happy those villagers would have been to receive 15,000 people being like, "Hey, are you guys open for business?" But his perspective was very much, this is an impossible situation. Yeah, we don't have the resources amongst ourselves. And bearing in mind, Jesus had sponsors. There were people who supported his ministry. Yeah, they had money. So we don't know if the issue is that they didn't have the money, or if the amount of money they would need to spend was they were just like, there's no way we can spend that much on this. And so then another disciple comes and says, well, I've managed to find a boy with some fish and some bread. Yeah. And so you have these contrasting disciples, both with Jesus, so you could say they were abiding with Jesus. Yeah. But they were still approaching the situation differently because one was focused on what is the opportunity in this situation, and the other was thinking what is the impossibility. This is the impossibility. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And that does make a really big difference in how fruitful we are in the kingdom of God, because I think oftentimes God will use. Well, as we see this story anyway, I'll just continue summarizing this story then, because it's basically the point. So then this one person manages to find, it's literally nothing. Do you know what I mean? That's barely enough for one adult male, really. And so this boy's dinner was this boy's come with a packed lunch. His mum was like, off you go. And I was like, give me your lunch. No, I'm joking. But, it's the resource isn't enough. It's like if in my scenario, instead of having 13 grand, I was like, well, I've got 100 quid. Yeah. That's all I've got in the bank account to help. So, but that became the food that fed the 5,000 men and any people that were with them, all the disciples, and I can totally say that. And then had enough that there were leftovers. Yeah. Which means that, as Mum pointed out very well, that there were people who were still fed after the fact from that thing. Yeah. And what I love about that, I guess this is the first point. I don't know, whatever. I don't know what's going on today, to be honest. I've had Rona, guys. I'm recovering, and I had a great sermon, and I was encouraged, so I'm here. The first thing that what really got me is you can, in your vision of abiding in God and being aware of what reality you have access to. Yeah. You can actually, the thing that is little can be the miracle. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so here we have a disciple who is probably scanning the crowd. I don't know how far he went. he just sees this boy with a little package. He's like, what's that? And he's like, oh, it's just some loaves and some fish. But even though he, like, that when he heard that, he was like, that's not enough.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have been like, oh my gosh, we've got the loaves and the fish. Jesus is 100% going to pray. He'll break it and there'll be this incredible miracle. I'm going to be the disciple to bring this like to Jesus.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what was going through his mind. He was just like, okay, what do we have?
Yeah.
And this is a big thing with God. What do you have? And this is part of what Mum was saying as well, is what do you have? Like, and what's your desire? What do you have? Bring that to me. So this disciple brings this resource, says, this is the resource that we have to meet the need that we have. We're not trying to not meet the need.
Yeah.
But we're being real about, hey, this is all we have to meet this need. And Jesus says, that's all I need.
Yeah.
And then he does a simple prayer, and then they just start they work with the resource. This is one of the things that I think is mad about the story, is that like it's not like manna where it all just it's just like loads of bread and fish like pelting all these people. Like they just start breaking the fish, they start breaking the bread, and it just keeps breaking, like continually, and they keep spreading it. And I'm sure some of the disciples are like, hey, this is pretty cool, but what if we run out? Like, what if we only have enough for 4,000? Do you know, there's always that thought going on. But they had so much more that they fed all the people and had leftovers. And I think that's a great lesson of how you can operate in the kingdom.
Yeah.
There's a lot in that, but basically it's the idea of like having the perspective of I have a mission from God.
Yeah.
And that mission isn't go to heaven. That mission is you have the capacity to govern the experiences in this world. Yeah. It means when you face a situation, you're not facing it from that first disciple's position of here's an impossible situation. Yeah. So let's not do anything. You approach it as here's a situation that needs governing. This situation is chaotic right now. Yeah. This situation needs order. What are the things that I have at my disposal to bring order? Let me take that to Jesus. And like Jesus needs to like make up the difference. Yeah. And pretty much all the time when we do that and we're remaining in Jesus. So there's those two things. You got to still be you can't do it outside of Jesus. If you're just doing your own thing and then you're trying to like, have favor from God, you're not gonna. It's not gonna work. Do you know what I mean? You'll find yourself in a bad situation. But if you're in God, if you're fellowshipping with Jesus, and then you face a situation that needs governance, and you bring your resource to God in the intention of meeting the need or bringing whatever order should be in that situation. Yeah. So, for example, with Anna, she is going into a highly competitive market for a house. She might be relatively good candidate generally on paper, but there are probably a few other good candidates on paper. There might have been some other candidates on paper that bit more stable. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? There might it's as you're saying, the rental market, the housing market in general is competitive. So she's facing this situation that kind of seems impossible. It's almost like, hey, I need to find a house soon. Like, it was nice for a few weeks, nice for a few months, but like, I do actually need a place to live. And you said, all right, we've got to pray about this. Let's bring some order to this situation. What can we do? You've already applied. So what else can we do? We can bring it to Jesus now. So bring it to Jesus. Now she's got the house. Like, that's an example of being able to bring an order to a situation. And I think that's something that God is calling us more to. Yeah, that's good. Is stop focusing on what's the impossibility in the situation. Even if the situation is impossible, the moment that you say it's impossible, you lose the ability that you have to govern it. Yeah. Whereas if you look at what is the solution, how can we still do what we've been called to do? Yeah. Even if we don't have the resources in this situation. Like, that is what is the beginning of of the reality of the kingdom coming. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what I'll say for that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's good.
It's a lot. I basically summarized the whole.
You did.
Honestly, it was great.
And you should go listen to it. You can go listen to it on our church stuff.
YouTube,
Facebook, all that kind of stuff.
And then it'll be on Spotify and Apple Podcasts,
and all that kind of stuff.
Sometime this week.
It's worth listening to. But yeah, I think it's really, really good. And I think that whole reality and that mentality of like we're called not just to get saved, go to church on Sunday and get to heaven. Like that kind of reality, and that's kind of the point of which that's the reason why Jesus died. That's the reason why Jesus saves us, just so that we can have our train ticket almost to heaven. So when we get to the big pearly gates, we can get it, scanned by the conductor and then get in. I mean, I think that's just sad. It's a sad state of affairs if that's it, because, I mean, what's the point?
It's not. I mean, it's not. It's not great for now, is it?
Yeah, it's not. It's great. It's great for eternity, but now it's a bit just like, all right, let's just ride it out, essentially.
Effectively.
Whereas when you read the scriptures, you see that we're called to more than this, and we're called to greater things. And I think I think in terms of when I'm listening to, because obviously you follow all the preachers and churches stuff online, I'm seeing a lot of people kind of digging into this kind of thing again, and bringing it back down to, it's not just if you have a platform or a stage that you're called to those things, but it's for every single person, whether you're 90 years old or whether you're 7, I don't know, just a young kid who's just kind of giving their lives to Jesus. That we're called to greater things, we're called to mission, we're called to do this, that, and the other, and everything like that, and we're called to govern these impossible situations. And I think it's a really important perspective to have, and I think it's really something that we have to dig deep into and teaching and kind of guiding people into that. And I think as well, I remember you saying it years ago. This is when I was working for the church. I don't even know how long ago that was. I was like 4 or 5 years ago, something like that. 3, 4 years ago. It was before anyway. But I remember you saying it. I don't even remember the context, but you were like, what's the point of praying for something that you can already do yourself? Do you know what I mean?
Say that, nice.
It's fire, mate. It's fire.
I think I got that from somewhere else, so credit to wherever I heard it from.
Well, yeah, but I remember you saying, like, what's the point? Like, if you want a house, I think you used the example of a house. So why would you pray for a house that you can just about afford, or you can just kind of pray for something bigger, pray for something greater,
Yeah.
That's
generally what we do, isn't it? Like you do this all the time. You'll be like, someone will be like, I just need a job. You'll be like, I hope they get a great job, great pay, great benefits. And it's like, that's what I'm supposed to do.
Because that's the thing, like for me, I remember when I was looking, before I got, not this job, the one I got previously, I remember I was looking for a job and I was like, right, okay, what are my skills? How much experience have I got, et cetera, et cetera. And I stacked it all up and I was like, okay, maybe in this market, maybe in this job market, I can probably get a job at X amount of money a year. Yeah. And then I was like, I don't want that kind of money. I want more money. So I prayed for a couple of grand more. And I ended up getting a job that paid more than what I prayed for, which was more than what I'm qualified for. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
go on, say that again, because that might have gone over some...
Yeah, okay, I'll make it simpler. I can't remember all the figures, but essentially, say for instance, like with my experience, everything like that, I could probably walk into a job and get paid 19 grand a year. Let's just say hypothetically, right? That was like my situation. I was like, this, for the level of experience I've got, the qualifications, blah blah blah. This is what I can kind of pitch for and get into. But then I was like, I don't want that kind of money. I want some more money. So then I prayed for something like 22 grand or something like that, a little bit extra. I was like, do you know what? It's the God. He can do it. He can sort this out. But then when I ended up, when I'm getting a job, it was 2 grand more than what I originally prayed for.
Yeah.
Because obviously God's just good. He's able to open the door for me to get into that job. And like ultimately, if I kind of looked at that situation, going, I've got I've got this kind of qualification, I've got this much experience, and I looked at it in like that, in the real reality of things, I'll probably be like, I'll just go here, Lord, give me a job at 19 grand or whatever it was. Do you know what I mean? But I was like, do you know what? God's got something better. God's got something greater for me. Yeah. And he put me in a job with more money. And in that job, I was able to reach people. I was able to pray for people. I was able to do this, that, and the other. So obviously God placed me there for a purpose while meeting my requirements of what I wanted.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's just good.
And the thing is, like, there's no guarantee that you would have gotten the job you'd gotten if you'd asked for a like if you'd come at a different perspective, you would have received a different outcome. And I love what you said. You said, I got a job that was more than I prayed for, and which was more than I was qualified for. And that is effectively what is like, that's pretty much like what the tangibility of this is. It's like you could be ill qualified for something. And you can pray, Lord, help me make the qualification. And God can bless you beyond that beyond the prayer that you make, which is beyond your own qualification. And that's the way that God asks us to live life. And I know it can sound annoying, like, do you know what I mean? It's like, and Christians can say this to each other as well. It's like, stop being like optimistic. Like, oh no, like the situations. Sorry, I've got a fly. This is another thing about this heat. It just makes flies overly confident. I'm not happy about this heat. I just got to, let's say,
whoever's praying, stop it.
It's like 6 o'clock, almost.
Stop it, man.
20 to 7, and it's 30 degrees. What is that?
Demonic.
Anyway. But we're going to govern this situation, trust me. We're bringing it down, I tell you.
Come on.
Climate change is going to
have
ways of it. I don't remember what I was saying.
You were talking about...
what was I saying?
What were you talking about? You talked about that little statement that I made.
Oh, about the impossibility.
Yeah.
Some about the perspective. Oh, they're like how sometimes...
too
Christians
optimistic.
can get annoyed about talking about trying to look at a situation positively, because obviously we do have Christianisms which are like, hey man, I'll be praying for you even though you're not praying for anyone.
Classic.
Everyone's done it.
Everyone does it. Don't
feel bad. You can change it if you want to, but everyone said I'm praying for you and you've not prayed for them. Or there's like, hey, God will work all things together. Like, just throwing out these things. And if you're in a bad position, it can be like, hey man, don't give me the spiel. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going through it right now. Don't give me that stuff. Or you might just have heard it so many times that it's like, whatever. Like, we all say it, but none of us see it, so whatever. But that's the challenge, is that we have to have... It's not about being optimistic. It's about... We have to be able to live in the knowledge that how we live life right now, how we see the world, how we see our government working, how we see the weather being, how we see different elements of nature, how we see viruses, COVID popping up, a new variant, something to do with Centauran variant. I think that's the one me and Mercy had, horrible variant. All the way that we see the world isn't the way it's supposed to be. That's where we start from. The way the world is now isn't the way the world is supposed to be. And the answer is Jesus. Now that answer comes through us. So whenever someone says, why would a loving God... This is a question you'll get all the time as a Christian. You should be ready for it. If there's a God, why would X happen? Why would Y happen? It's a very simple answer. It's just like, if someone comes to this country and they're unaware of the laws, but they break all of them, they're still as guilty as the person who knows the laws. And so they still have to face the consequences of breaking all those laws. Now, the situation we're in is that someone has come and said, hey, these are the laws. You've broken them. Just to let you know. Just, so you're not ignorant. You've broken laws. But there's someone who has taken the punishment away and you don't have to experience the punishment. But if you don't want to, activate this benefit, you don't have to. No one's going to force you. You can still face the punishment. And that's what some people decide. I've spoken to people and said, do you want to go to hell? They're like, Like, for real?
Not bothered.
Like, all right. Like, that's fine. I gave you the choice. Do you know what I mean? And that's... But what it means is that we have to live knowing that the way that we live life isn't the way we're supposed to live life.
Yeah.
That's why another part of what Mum was saying is the word is important, because the word gives us our stand. This is completely not even what I was going to be.
This is good though. This is good.
Related. I think the title is Jesus the Inconvenienced, and the point of the title was that a lot of the miracles that we see, that we hear about Jesus doing in the Bible, all came out of inconvenienced situations.
Yeah.
So what I was going to look at is the woman with the issue of blood. So Jesus is met by this guy in a synagogue, a very prominent synagogue leader. Daughter's sick. He's like, yeah, all right, I'll come heal your daughter. Let's go. It's just standard day for me. Here's the plan for the day. I'll go heal this guy's daughter.
Yeah.
On the way, he's mobbed by a bunch of people, as is his usual day-to-day life.
Mm-hmm.
Someone touches him, and he feels someone touch him, feels that this person is interacting in a faith way because our power's left me. He turns, interacts with her, heals her. In that time span, I don't know how long that is, if that was 5 minutes, 10 minutes, this guy's daughter dies.
Yeah.
Or like in the journey.
Yeah.
The daughter's died. And the people come and tell Jesus, look, thanks for your time, but she's dead. And Jesus is like, all right, thanks for letting me know. I'm coming anyway. and raises her from the dead.
Yeah.
So and the reason he was able to do that is because of what this whole thing is that we've spoken about. Is he lived a life where he was always abiding with God. And that was the difference between Jesus and every other human being that's ever existed. Is he was never born into a state where he was separate from God. He was born connected with God the way that humanity was supposed to be. So Jesus is the first person post Adam who was on earth living in the state they were supposed to be. That's why that's part of why he was so effective. And then he gets the Holy Spirit. So now he's a human being, living completely and utterly connected with God, baptized and anointed by the Holy Spirit, and then continually lives his life, remaining connected with God. And that's why he's always present in a situation. He's always ready for a situation. And the inconveniences aren't inconveniences or impossible situations. They're situations that Jesus sees, and he says, you know what, in this situation, I'm going to bring order. I'm going to bring the governance of God here. I'm going to bring the righteousness of God. I'm going to bring the grace of God, the favor of God to this situation. So for this woman who's inconveniencing me on the way to healing someone's daughter, instead of seeing her as, oh, can you not? I'm actually, like, this is actually a serious situation if we get down to it. Someone's dying. And you're like, fair enough, you've been going through something, but let's be real, you're getting on in age, you know what I mean? Like, this is a young girl, she has the rest of her life. Like, that's how people would rationalize it. Do you know what I mean? If you're choosing between, are you going to save an old lady? Or are you going to save a child? Jesus was within his rights to say, maybe I'll come back for you, but this girl is dying. But he said, no, I'll bring the righteousness of God. The true reality of what you guys are supposed to experience here, because I'm aware of what I have been called to do. I know that I've been called to govern, and so I'm going to do that and still complete the mission of the day. Do you know what I mean? And I just think that's so incredible that we can live a life where, despite what happens, like, you might have something tomorrow, and you might be like, oh my gosh, where has this come from? Well, the light.
Oh my really gosh.
Like, tasty as anything. This is another thing. Like, it can be so hard to manage the light, but hey, we love it. We love it. We do it.
I feel like Moses when he comes down from the mountain. He's just,
that's all it is.
He's just glowing.
If you're watching the podcast, if you're listening to the podcast, you need to go on YouTube and look. Just look at Eamon's face.
I need to cover my face like Moses did, because the glory just radiated off my face.
But like, you might face something like you're saying in work where you might go in Monday morning and things are worse than you left them Friday. That's a possibility.
Big possibility.
You guys may be like, this month is looking pretty impossible, and we're not even in the middle of it. But you have the opportunity to say, how can I bring governance?
Yeah.
How can I bring right order based off the vision that I see of what the Word of God says that I can experience? Because the Word of God, as Mum said, is how we are told this is how God wants us to live. This is how God invites us to live. So then you get the choice of, okay, is this impossible? Or even with the limited resources, is there opportunity here for God's way to prevail?
Yeah.
And then you bring that to Jesus and you just say, all right, this isn't a great situation. Got to figure out some stuff. But this is what we can do.
Yeah.
So we're just going to start doing it. So we're going to start breaking the bread. And Jesus will sort the rest out. He'll move in. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think, for me, that's encouraging because we're going through some tough stuff.
Yeah.
In the world. I'm pretty sure everyone's going through something that's like, do you know what I mean? Their own situation. They're like, my gosh, how am I going to figure out this?
Yeah.
And it's only going to increase. I'm sorry, everyone. It's not.
Unlucky.
Stuff's going to get worse. Like, I didn't imagine that coming back from my holiday.
Yeah.
/ anniversary / Mercy's birthday celebration.
The Rona
that we'd both have Rona basically for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And be hit hard.
And
it wasn't in the plan.
Yeah.
So we're all going to face stuff that is going to be an inconvenience.
Yeah.
Or even worse than inconvenience, it's going to be an impossibility.
Yeah.
And we have to decide before we get there how we're going to approach it.
Yeah, it's true.
And so if you decide to approach it as an impossibility, what that means is you're hamstringing your own God-given ability to govern that situation. Or you can decide beforehand, whatever comes, and this is what being an overcomer is, isn't it? Whatever comes, I am going to go through it. I'm going to go over it. I'm going to go under it. Whatever happens, this situation isn't going to stop me. God will make a way, regardless of where there seems to be no way. Yeah? And so then, you just use what you have. And, that's basically it, to be honest, mate.
Yeah, and I think I remember a couple of weeks ago. Oh, that glow is mad. I remember a couple of weeks ago. I was not a couple of weeks. I think it was maybe about 2 months ago. Anyway, I was at Anna's parents' house, right? And I'm sat on the sofa, and it's like me, Anna, and her mum Angela, and we just chat. I can't remember what we chatted about something. I think it may have been the house situation. I think it may have been some other situation. I don't fully know, but it was because some kind of situation. And I was like, don't worry, it's all going to be good. It's all going to be fine, blah, blah, blah. And I remember saying, oh, like, you're definitely a glass half full type of guy, aren't you, Eamon? And I was like, no, I'm not. I'm a man of faith. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I'm like, ultimately, I see that some situations may seem impossible. Because in my life, there's been so many situations that seem impossible, but yet with God, as we've sort of talked about today, and bringing governance and things like that, with the Lord, there's been a way that's been made, and that I've come out the other end, and I've come out in a better way, and God's got glory, and I've been led into greater life and into greater joy. Because that's one of the things she said as well, is that, when I was looking at Psalm 23 in the podcast and on last week on Sunday, she sort of highlighted that about that verse where it says, he leads me in the right path for his name's sake. And that if he's leading you on the right path for his glory, then it's going to be sound, it's going to be fine. If it's for his glory, it's going to work out. Like, you don't mess around, anything like that. And I think that's so good. And like, ultimately, like, I say to Anna all the time, and I think it annoys you sometimes. Do you know what I mean? I'm just like, I'm a man of faith. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's just it. I was like, I'm not a glass half full. I'm not trying to be optimistic to be optimistic's sake. I'm not trying to be optimistic because no one else is, or somebody has to be, or anything like that. Like, I genuinely do believe that it may look a bit bleak or it may look a bit impossible, but I believe that with God, that it's going to be sound, it's going to be sorted, it's all going to be fine, it's all going to work itself out, and there's going to be some more left over. Like, you look at that story of the feed the 5,000. He didn't just feed the 5,000; there was leftovers as well. That there was more than what was the actual need itself. And same with my job, I got more than what the actual what the actual want was and what the actual need was. I got way, way more than that as well. And, you know, I've seen this repeatedly, man. I remember someone texted me, I'm not going to reveal all the details, but someone texted me, basically saying, like, oh, can you FaceTime me? And I was like, all right, okay. When someone says that, no one ever rings me, really, unless it's something serious or work. So I was like, okay, here we go. Strap in. So anyway, FaceTime him, and we're chatting, and they were talking about they were like, I just need your advice. And I was like, okay, cool, yeah, I'll give you some advice. And they were like, oh, it's been kicking off with my
You don't need to, you could just say kicking off.
It's been kicking off with somebody else in the family.
Yeah.
There you go. Trying to omit details is so hard. It's been kicking off with someone else in the family. And they were saying that basically this person in the family was like, oh, like it's not the same anymore. We don't have the same relationship. It's all changed. It's all this, that, and the other. And like they were like basically, then they were like, I'm cutting you off. It was all like all of a sudden, really, really deep, right, really strange, out of nowhere. Like I'm cutting you off, all this kind of stuff. And tried to reconcile. Nothing happened. Blocked numbers, that sort of thing. Really weird. So anyway, they're like, what's your advice? And I was just like, I don't know. I was like, I don't know.
Like, really, you called me?
I was like, yeah, out of everyone that you know, you called me, this guy. But I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I have no idea. I was just like, I genuinely have no idea. It sounds like a really, really weird situation. And like, it sounds really quite bleak and impossible. Like they've literally blocked your number. They've done everything like that. So I just said, let's just pray. That's all I had. That was what I had in my wheelhouse. That's what we say in recruitment and sales all the time. Like, what's in your wheelhouse? What do you have?
Yeah.
And I was like, that's all I have at this point.
Yeah,
here.
exactly.
And so I was like, we're just going to pray for this. So we just spent 5 minutes, 10 minutes just praying into this situation. The Lord would do something. And it'd been like a period of time at this point between them getting cut off and speaking to me. It's like, I don't know, like a week or 2 weeks or something.
Yeah.
But anyway, I prayed the very next day. Numbers unblocked. Them apologizing, saying sorry, I overreacted, blah blah blah, whatever else. And they've been fully reconciled together. But ultimately, the point I'm trying to make is the fact that like I could have looked at that situation. There's been someone they've asked for advice, and I could have just waffled some rubbish at them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's going to be all right. Oh, I'll pray for you. Or, you know, give your request to God. He knows it. Do you know what I mean? Like, as you were talking about the verses that, which I don't like to call them cliches, but sometimes we use them so much that they're just becoming Christian cliches. And this is one of the things we were talking about with Psalm 23 and things like that. Like, dig deep into, because there's so much truth in these things and so much life in these things. But ultimately, like, in that situation, I didn't have anything other than, like, God is able to kind of sort this out and do something here. And so we prayed, and ultimately God did something and reconciled a relationship. And then just reconcile a relationship, it's looking really healthy now as well. Maybe even you could say healthier than it was before.
Yeah.
And ultimately that's how we're called to operate, as we were saying. You know, when there's a situation here, it's impossible. Here, what do I have? And it's not just, let's just be optimistic about it, because it's quite there. It's from there, and it's looking quite bleak. But it's, I have faith that God is able to do something here.
Yeah.
And God changes the situation, and then He also makes it better than what it was before.
Yeah.
And we talk about restoration, don't we?
Yeah.
We were talking about you don't just get back what you lost, but you got back more than what you had. Look at Job.
Yeah.
You know, Job had all this stuff amazing. Like, you read chapter 1, it sounds like Job has a great life.
He did well.
He was doing well for himself, and we all know the story of Job. All this stuff happened to him, and there's big conversations, him and his mates, and all this kind of stuff in the Lord and everything like that. If you read the last chapter of Job, he actually had more than what he lost originally.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's kind of how we talk about, that's how restoration works. But also as well, we've seen from the story of the feeding the 5,000, that God doesn't just meet the need, but obviously exceeds it with the story of me and the job. He didn't just meet the need, but He exceeds it. With this story here, you know, He doesn't just meet the need, but He exceeds it. So it's not about being optimistic and just being like, okay, someone's going to be the glass half full kind of guy. So I'm just going to have to fill those boots for now. But I have faith, and I'm a man of faith, to say that God is able to do something, and I'm going to bring governance to this situation, as we were saying, and see God move and do something, man.
Yeah, and the what I love is that what's your inconvenience is someone else's miracle. So you know what I mean, and this is what you see with Jesus all the time.
Yeah,
the inconvenience for Jesus was actually the gate for someone else's miracle to happen.
Yeah.
And in the situation you just talked about, you were just living your life.
Yep, vibing.
And then you get a bit of an inconvenient request.
Yep.
Oh, can we FaceTime? That's even beyond a call, because I got to look at you. Do you know what I mean?
Like, well, I have good Wi-Fi signal.
I don't know what news you're going to give me. I have to manage how I react. And then you're giving me all this deep stuff about stuff that I didn't have any clue about.
Yeah.
But you knew what you had. First of all, you were like, oh, well, praying is an effective thing, so let's do that. And a miracle happened for this person. And that's where I think that would be my encouragement to myself and to all of us, is that we're going to be faced with situations that are inconvenient. Yeah. Especially in our society where everyone is trying to work more, do more, earn more, be more, There are going to be a lot of interruptions to the way that you think your life should be going, or the way that you live your everyday life. Yeah. But those inconveniences are gates to someone else's miracle and someone else interacting with Jesus. And as well as that, there's going to be situations that come to be impossible situations that you're going to face. Yeah. Or I'm going to face. You guys listening are going to face. And someone else who maybe a spirit-filled Christian may look at your situation and say, this is impossible. And you have to decide, am I going to let this impossibility stand? Yeah. Or has God said something about a situation like this before? Yeah. And is that thing that he has said better than what this impossibility is? And if it's better, as you're saying, I have to choose to believe God in what he said, that I can experience his better version than what I'm bringing. And that's what I wanted to talk about today. I was really encouraged by the preach. Yeah. And I thought we got to deep dive into this, because this is going to become critical. And as I always say, things are going to get worse in the world. Yeah. And the Christian response isn't a political response. Mm-hmm. It is a faith response. Yeah, that's good. So the way that the church will be effective isn't through the world's methods of bringing change. It's by God's methods of bringing change. Yeah. So the more that we can do this stuff like Mum preached about today, the key thing is remaining in God, cultivating our relationship with him, so that when these things happen, we're ready to respond to them from his resource, not our own. Yeah. Then stuff like that is going to become even more commonplace. Yeah. You know, you might have a colleague come to you and they start talking to you and you're like, oh, it's Monday morning. Come on. Stuart, or I don't know what your colleagues' names are, but do you know what I mean? They'll just start talking to you about what's happened this weekend, something's gone on, and it'll be an inconvenience to you, but you might have the opportunity to look at it as, all right, this person is inconveniencing me with something. Yeah. What does this situation need governing? Is this situation out of control? Does this need God's order? Yeah. What do I have within me to bring that order in collaboration with Jesus? And there's going to be a lot of cool things happening, so I'm looking forward to hearing what everyone is up to and what we're all doing together. But yeah, that's it.
Did an excellent job, mate. And thanks very much, Mahongo, for...
Yeah, thanks for being faithful.
Thanks for being faithful, yeah. And again, I know I've said it before, but I'll say it again. Go back and listen to it. My Auntie D's watching. Have to leave, unfortunately. Great words of faith, guys. Thank you.
Well, thank you. You've managed to catch... This is the end now, so we appreciate you being here.
Auntie D, she's a legend. Anyway, but yeah, that's wonderful. And if there's anything, if there's any stories from this that, you have that kind of, please let us know. We'd love to kind of chat about them, talk about them. Want to share testimonies and things like that. If we talk about something that's impacted you, or, you've taken something out and you've gone into the world.
Let us know.
Let us know, because that's encouraging to us as well, that, what we're saying, because we know it doesn't fall on, deaf ears, whatever that saying is. Flat ears. Deaf ears? Flat ears?
Deaf ears. What? Flat ears or fly ears?
Flat.
Oh, right.
Is it flat ears?
I've never heard flat ears before, but
Right, anyway.
probably could be. I'm going deaf ears though.
You'll know what I'm talking about. But sometimes, because obviously we're talking to a screen essentially, we're talking to some cameras and a screen. Like it does, and obviously we know that it's going in. But if there's obviously, it's always encouraging to hear stories. Always encouraging to hear how it's encouraged you, how it's kind of impacted you, things like that. So please let us know. And if there is any other topics you want us to look at, or anything like that, please let us know.
Yeah,
because we'd love to do it. But appreciate everyone joining us, and if everyone can say a big thank you to Mahongo for this morning, and also Wana for deep diving, unpacking it, as well as juggling all the technical issues that went on. I'm a glowy face.
Yeah, still not too sure what happened there, but
it's life, innit?
It was an inconvenience.
It's an inconvenience.
We governed it. Do you know what I mean?
Inconvenience. And do you know what? All it is that in the future we'll have someone to do it. We'll have multiple people to do it.
Exactly.
So
that's another great thing. Another little nugget that Mum just threw out. She was like, she used me as an example playing.
Yeah.
And she was like, your fruitfulness comes out of like you just being present and doing the thing.
Yeah.
And so she was like, because you've done this thing, like you'll be fruitful in this and you'll reap.
Yeah.
Like
Amen.
Drummers. And like we need drummers. I was like, amen. But I was thinking about it at home. I was like, yeah, of course that makes perfect sense because we're told you, like in the kingdom of God, whatever you sow, you'll reap. So if you sow faithfulness, you're gonna reap faithful people to you.
Yeah.
Or if you sow putting yourself on a line for someone, you're gonna reap people willing to put themselves on the line for you. The way when she said that, I thought about it as no longer, because sometimes it's always like we think of it more as money.
Yeah, we do.
You sow, you reap. But I suddenly saw like, oh, it's about everything. Like, however you sow in life, whatever it is you're sowing, in God you'll reap that thing. So if you want to see. I mean, we say it all the time. This is what I mean.
It's true,
we say stuff like this all the time.
Like
Whatever you want to reap, you got to sow.
Yeah.
But that is like true in all. So if you're lonely, and you're like, okay, what does God say about this? How do I reap fellowship?
Yeah.
The answer is who can I sow my own fellowship to?
Yeah, that's good.
Because then that means that I'm gonna. Oh, honestly, it was just like a little thing. I was like, honestly, that is absolute fire. I loved it. Honestly, it was great. It was great. It was really good. As you can see, I'm encouraging my soul with
this. I can tell, mate.
This is good stuff. So anyway, we're gonna finish there because I'll keep going, and we'll
be here all night.
We've passed an hour, and I always remember someone saying our podcasts are really long to listen to. So hey, it is what it is. But thank you so much for joining us. If you're joining us live, and if you're watching or listening after the fact and you want to join in live, you can find us 6 p.m. GMT time, London time,
Greenwich Mean Time,
Sunday evenings. Otherwise, thanks for listening whenever you are. Yeah. Even if it's 2030. Hello. Hello in the future. And we'll be back again with something to do with Jesus.
Yeah, man.
Next time. So. Thanks, everyone. Bye.